So I'd just like to talk today about the mystery schools. I know I've talked about it before, but just in terms of how the mystery school and the information was infiltrated, you know, because I mean, I suppose what we're seeing today, you know, and really at an accelerated rate over the past 2 years would be, you know, the evidence of, clear evidence really for most people of how this information has been used against people, you know?
Yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to talk about was I've seen, you know, across the board, like obviously, you know, I'm looking at videos and listening to people talking, and across the board I'm seeing how the mystery schools and the idea even of the mystery schools is been demonized as if it's the root cause, it's the root of all the you know, I suppose you'd say evil groups in the world, like, you know, the elite, the Illuminati, all this kind of stuff. And, you know, I'm not saying everybody, obviously, but a lot of people making videos, you know, and writing articles and things like that, they're kind of almost saying that the mystery schools and those who would have been the wisdom keepers, let's say, of the mystery schools are the ones who became the controlling evil elite, you know. So that's the focus of what I want to talk about today, because that's a trick that has been used with people, you know. And it's the trick. It's a what would you say? It's a common trick, basically, is to, if you can't control something, you know, if it's too powerful for you to control, then you demonize it.
Yeah.
You make it, you know, that it's something bad.
Yeah.
You make people afraid of it, you know. And that's what I know has happened in terms of the mystery school wisdom, if you want to say. And which brings me to the next part of what I wanted to say, which is that we think of language in terms of the language we speak today. So, for example, for us, it's English, unfortunately, and not Irish, which is what we should be speaking. But that's another example anyway. But so all language, it doesn't matter what language it is, like Chinese, Indian, Irish, it's all a lower form of the language that I'm talking about. So the language of the mystery schools would be, and was contained, like the information that was being recorded and imparted, was not done in the written language as we would think today, because that's a fallen
It's
system.
lower vibrational.
Yes. The written and spoken language that we use today is left-brained.
Yes.
So if you think of the ancient sites, like for example in Ireland, there's no actual written language. It's spirals.
It's art.
Yes, exactly. It's spirals, it's wavy lines, it's concentric circles. It's symbols, you know. And the same, for example, in Egypt, if you look at the temple walls in Egypt, there's no written word, written language. It's images, you know.
Yeah, that a hieroglyph is a picture.
Exactly. And the reason I'm saying that, because this was the right-brained, the feminine.
Yeah.
You know?
The creator conscious.
The creator conscious, exactly.
Yeah.
And so the higher, profound and higher wisdom is not contained in any language that we speak today. It's contained in pictograms, images, but most importantly, geometry. So when I'm doing the workshops, which I will be doing for the solstice weekend, a Sacred Geometry Flower Life workshop in Ireland, it most likely will be in the Meath area. I'm not sure, but the venue will be decided anyway. But so the geometry is the original language, if you want to say it that way. And all the information that was contained in the mystery schools and has been handed down, which it has been, on an unbroken chain. The chain has never been broken.
Right, because there's always the 144,000
Even if it appears
present
Yes,
to keep it viable in the
the
consciousness
chain,
of the earth.
the chain has never been broken.
Yeah.
I personally am myself a record keeper, and for the connection between Egypt and Ireland.
Yeah.
So I can tell you, the whole thing about the mystery schools is about direct experience. It's about having a direct experience. It's not about believing somebody else.
Right.
Yeah, you're initiated into that.
Absolutely. Everything about the mystery schools is that you directly experience it yourself. That's when we go on the journeys.
Yeah.
You have a direct experience.
Yeah.
You're not sitting listening to me or somebody else
Or
telling you
over
their
text.
experience.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's not
Yeah.
secondhand, it's firsthand.
Yeah.
So the most important thing, yes, firsthand. The most important thing about the mystery schools was that each student, initiate, whatever word you like to use, had to have direct experience. So this is a hands-on thing. It's a living wisdom. And as I said, it's been handed down unbroken. So the language that's used is the language of the Creator. Geometry is the language of Creator consciousness. So it's the thoughts of the Creator. It's the, for example, I think we're all familiar with, the Bible, when it says, the Old Testament, the book of Genesis, when it says, in the beginning was the Word. So if you can visualize and if you know about cymatics, just a brief explanation for anybody listening that doesn't know what cymatics is, and that's spelled Cymatics. And cymatics is the study of how sound, frequency, vibration affects matter. It doesn't just affect matter, it actually brings matter into shape and form. So a brief description of a cymatic experiment would be, if you had, and I think I've spoke about this before, but if you had a pile of sand, you can use any substance, you can use liquid as well. But if you, for example, had a pile of sand on a plate, and you had that, a metal plate, and you had the metal plate hooked up to an amplifier. Now you can use any medium, so you could use your voice to make the sound, or you could use an instrument, So what happens when you start to make a sound is that the plate on which the sand sits will start to vibrate. And as you go up through the scale and you go to higher and higher and higher notes, you will hit a note whereby instead of having a pile of vibrating sand or whatever substance you're using on the plate, when you hit that note, all the sand will instantly form a perfect geometric shape, like a snowflake or maybe a perfect circle with a dot in the centre.
Yeah.
Those experiments have been done in the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid.
Wow.
Because the Great Pyramid is a harmonic resonator.
Not surprised.
Yeah, well, you've been there. And when you sit in the King's Chamber, or any part of the Great Pyramid, but if you're sitting in the King's Chamber and you chant, it sounds like there's like millions of voices coming in.
Wow.
And chanting with you. I've been in there on my own and chanting, and there's like millions of voices with me.
Wow.
It's incredible, So sacred geometry is sacred because it's the language of Creator consciousness.
Yeah.
It's the thoughts and the patterns of Creator consciousness.
Yeah.
It is the word that was in the beginning. And that word is a frequency or a vibration. And where did that come from? Who made the sound? Well, I've just answered you. Who made the sound?
No.
We had this conversation before. Who is who? Who is God? Remember that?
Yes, I remember that absolutely.
Who spelt H-U.
H-U.
So, and I'll speak about that in a minute. But so the sound comes from the thoughts, consciousness. So I know a lot of people may not necessarily think this, excuse the pun, but your thoughts make a sound. Every thought you have makes a sound. It's not a sound you can hear. It's a vibration. It's a frequency.
Yes.
And that collective frequency that you make every second of every day, of every thought that you have, is what's called your Akashic records. And it's also what creates what you call your reality, the experience that you perceive as your reality, and all the other people in your reality, your mother, your father, your brothers, your sisters, your friends. It's all you. It's all you. Everyone is just another you. And you're looking at yourself from an infinite amount of different angles. If you remember, my journey was started because I was in a motorbike accident at 14 and I died. And I was... Obviously, it took all my life to work out what this was about. But having done the journey and completed the circle, if you like, I went from Ireland to Egypt. I created the Mystery School in Luxor. I brought a lot of people on ascension journeys from the very south of Egypt, from the root chakra, all the way up through the chakras and into the Great Pyramid and out through the ascension process. And, you know, anybody listening that has done that journey will know that they did truly ascend. It just took them a while to realise it. It can take years. It can take years.
Yeah.
I imagine.
It doesn't hit you on the journey. It doesn't hit you. A lot will hit you on the journey, but it takes years. It unfolds for the rest of your life, you know. So what I wanted to say about this is, and I spoke about it before, what I was shown in my motorbike accident was there were two nets, and I've spoken about this before. And what I mean by two nets is I mean two levels of consciousness. And there are more, but incarnating souls coming in to this 3D experience. There's an organic net, which is what I'm talking about. The geometry. All the information of the organic net is contained in the sacred geometry. And it comes directly from creator consciousness in an unbroken line all the way down through every mystery school initiate up to today.
Wow.
Because in creator consciousness there is no time.
Yeah.
There's only now.
There's only now.
It's like cycles of nature, like the Fibonacci.
Rather than linear,
Yeah.
if you think of layers like an onion,
Yeah.
rather than a straight line. I'm talking about time. If you think of time, maybe even saying layers of an onion is not exactly, because it doesn't exist. I'm trying to describe something that doesn't exist, actually.
It's another dimension. It's like...
It's not even, it's a mental construct. We have watches and clocks, we don't have time.
That's it, exactly.
Time doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's a mental construct that we create.
Yes, yeah.
To unpack infinity. I think we had this...
Yeah, to measure something
this.
that doesn't exist to measure.
You see, the 3D brain is not capable of understanding everything now, infinitely, always. When you lower your vibration to be in the third dimension, you see, lowering your vibration means losing information, which equals to forgetting. You know?
Incarnating.
Yes, we knew that when we were. But those of us who are destined to remember are remembering now. And 2020 was our wake-up call.
Yes.
And everybody listening, and everybody who got that wake-up call in 2020. I mean, obviously there was ones before that, but I'm saying 2020 was accelerated. And, you know, this is a powerful time, and I think most people are starting to see that now. So, as I said, specifically what I wanted to talk about in this podcast is that I know that now is the time to see this, for people to understand it and to embrace it and to embody it and to manifest it. And Ireland plays an integral role in all of this. In all of this. And when I speak of the mystery schools, often I speak of Egypt. But the mystery schools of Ireland are equally, they're one and the same. And you know, we'll see that as we go on through the podcasts, you know. And I spoke about it before. So for now, I just want to say that don't underestimate what I'm saying in terms of how this information was distorted. Because this is a social engineering, black magic trick that's been played on a lot of people who are beginning to wake up. It's not people who are completely asleep. No offense to anybody, because different strokes for different folks. Everybody is where they
are meant to be.
Are meant to be.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying one way, another way. Everybody is where they're meant to be. But this is really targeted at people who are beginning to wake up. And what is targeted at them? What I'm saying, the distortion of this information. So, for example, I've read and seen things where it talks about the sacred geometry of the flower of life being evil.
Mm-hmm.
I think
the daisy
of death or something. You know.
Wow.
Yeah. And for me, I find that very disturbing.
Yeah.
You know, because I can see how this is a black magic trick being played on people who are waking up to keep them from this absolutely profound.
And is that like the other net? You were talking about the two nets before. You didn't touch on the second one.
I'll say that to you now. So I'm going to just say it in this way because it's a good visual. It's a good example to kind of understand. Yeah. I'm talking about language. So I said that the geometry, the flower of life geometry, through all its sequences from, you know, the seed to the egg to the flower to Metatron's cube, and to all the geometry that comes, all the platonic solids that come from Metatron's cube, and all the mathematical information that's in, I mean, it's you know,
infinite.
It's the thoughts of the creator. You know, it's the word in the beginning. It's the vibration. It's the word made visible. Geometry, the flower of life geometry is the word, the vibration of creator made visible. That is the organic net.
Yeah.
That's the organic net.
Yeah.
And when I say net, I mean, if you know anything, I don't want to go off track too much, but if you know anything about morphic fields, Rupert Sheldrake talks a lot about morphic fields.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Ley lines consciousness.
So morphic fields are what connects all species. Example, and again, I have spoke about this before, a shoal of fish will all suddenly turn in the same direction at the same time. Okay? There's another phrase for that, it's called quantum entangled.
Yes.
So that means that they are sharing, each fish is sharing information between them, but there's no time delay.
Yeah.
Because they're all doing it at the same time.
Yeah.
So that means that the information that's been shared between these fish happens outside 3D time and space. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance.
Yeah.
Quantum entanglement.
Yeah.
And all species, including humans, are connected by a morphic field. We all have the ability, and a lot of people will know this that are listening. They've all had examples of telepathy and, you know. And we have that ability, only it's been dialed down purposely.
Yeah.
Using the dark net, or the negative net, or the net of the Archon.
Yes.
The Archon net. And I've been up close and personal to this energy. I've looked it in the eye.
You have.
That's what my motorbike accident was about. It was about looking in the eye of evil.
Yeah.
Identifying it. Saying, I'm not afraid of you. And literally not being. You can't have any fear. That's what all the Mystery School initiation is about.
Yeah.
No fear.
Your fear.
Yeah.
Because the tool of the Archon is fear.
Yeah.
Manipulation. Lies. Making you feel like you are nothing.
Yeah.
Always in the wrong.
Yeah.
Invisible. Gaslighting.
Yeah.
Yes.
An innocent person being made feel guilty.
Yeah.
This happens from, in most cases, childhood. Often it can be one of your parents. You can marry one.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I mean people, and I want this to be heard in the exact way I'm saying it. When you encounter narcissists, liars, gaslighters, deniers, they are being archonically controlled.
Yeah.
If you meet somebody who's really in their ego, and ego is a misunderstood word in a way.
Yeah, I would
because
think so.
ego doesn't always necessarily mean like that you're being arrogant or this, that, or the other.
No.
Your ego, you need it to a certain degree.
Yeah.
To operate in the 3D.
It will to operate in the 3D, and it'll take you a certain way, to a certain point. But then you have to drop it. You're not going to go through ascension with the ego.
No.
That's right.
But it is useful to a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
But the ego is what's infiltrated by the Archon energy. This is all energy. There's nothing physical we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
So that needs to be understood.
Yeah.
People need to put it up a notch now. All of us who know this information, who's on the track of this information, who uphold the truth. This is the important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm making it clear, I think you should have established that the organic net is that of truth, of love, of respect, of beauty, of freedom, of sovereignty, of... When I say justified, I mean equal.
Mm-hmm.
All is equal.
Yeah.
Yeah. The dark net, if you want to say, is archonically controlled. Okay? And that's the lies, the manipulation, the narcissist, the denial. And make no mistake, do not underestimate the power of this energy.
Yeah.
It's like...
In my own personal life, I've seen it put people into the ground.
Yeah. Well,
Even though we know there is no death. Everybody makes a choice. That was their choice.
Yeah, in this lifetime.
I've made that choice
Mm-hmm.
to be entangled with this energy.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody who is, and I want to speak to anybody who's in the midst of this now, in a relationship with one of these. I've been there. This is my speaking is from direct experience, as I said at the beginning. The mystery school is about direct experience, not about believing anybody. There's a lie in the middle of that word.
That's right.
It's only when you say I know,
Yeah.
not I believe. I've been entangled with this energy all my life. So I chose that. And I want to say to anybody that's in that at the moment that you did choose it. And sometimes people don't like to hear that. But you did choose it, and it puts you in a much more powerful place just to take that on board. Because until you look in the eye of it and realise the only tool it has is fear. And it's your own fear. It's using your own fear against you.
Yeah.
There is no creation in this dark net. It's all destruction.
Yeah.
It's all destruction. There is nothing. It's all entropy and decay.
Yeah.
There is no creation in it.
So
If you think about the destruction that one narcissist can do to a large amount of people through their lies, through their gaslighting, through their manipulating, they destroy children. They destroy innocence.
Yeah.
Innocence. We're all innocent children, except them that are Archons. This is an Archon energy. It's not a physical person.
It's not a one person.
It's not a physical person. And when I say about the two nets, I'm talking about morphic fields, the way we share information.
Yeah, I was thinking about, like, you know, you're saying thoughts are sound, like they create a frequency.
Did you say yes?
And they also have
that's-
light.
Yeah, and
Sonoluminescence.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sound
and so
creating light. Yeah,
you can
that's in
sense it.
the book of Genesis.
Yeah.
In the beginning was the word. God said, "Let there be light."
Yeah.
So, what
It's
Christine
thought.
said was, that's I don't want to talk too much about that because
No,
this
but
is
I'm
about
just-
geometry at the moment. But
Yes.
but
My
absolutely.
point is, when you have a thought, you have a light that goes
No,
off.
absolutely. Sonoluminescence is about how sound creates light.
Yeah.
And that's something if anyone listening wants to look up, it's
Yeah.
it's interesting. It's very
It's very
interesting.
interesting, but the reason why I brought up
Sorry.
that anyways was that, like, the cymatics, like how those thoughts affect your vibration.
Exactly,
And
yeah.
then literally, like, in my experience with, like, denser art, like, is that the archonic net energy is that it's physically dense. You can feel your
Yes.
body,
Mm-hmm.
like, you feel it in your body in
Mhm.
any kind of experience you interact with, but
Absolutely.
the archonic one, it does bring you down, and
Totally.
you know, it affects you physically because
Totally.
and
It
so
can-
it affects your vibration
Totally.
as a being
And that's what it's for.
and what you sense.
Mm-hmm. It
Yeah.
it can drive you insane. It can put you into the ground. It can cause you to do all sorts of things.
Well, think of it as...
It's not just... Can I just...
No,
just
you continue.
It's not just relationships you get into. Okay? And anybody listening who's done this, they'll know. I did it as well. It's inside your own head.
Yes.
It's the voice that tells you you're no good. It's the voice that tells you you're never going to be any good. It's the voice that tells you nobody likes you. It's the voice that tells you you're never going to succeed at anything. Sure, who would want to be around you anyway? The negative dialogue. So be 100% sure when you're running that dialogue in your head, that's an Archon. Yeah. And if you knew what that looked like, I'll give you a visual. The Grim Reaper or Nazgul Rider out of Lord of the Rings. That's, if you could see what that voice looks like, you know, when you say put a face to the voice. If you could put a face to the negative inner dialogue, then you would absolutely get rid of that as quick as possible out of your head.
Yeah.
It's an Archon. It's a demon. Okay? Now, just quickly I want to say, this whole, you know, controlled darknet that's been controlled by, we'll say, the elite and all of those, okay? Obviously they're not the controllers. They're the puppets. But they've been archonically controlled.
Yes.
So, if you can understand what I mean there.
Yeah.
So this starts in the energy, you know?
Yeah.
So, I just want to give you a visual of, I told you, this archonic net. There is no creation in it. It's all destruction. Yeah? Now, anybody in that can get out of it. You acknowledge it. You know, there's 3 questions you ask yourself. If you're under an Archon attack, okay, there's 3 questions you ask, the same as breaking any kind of spell, okay? Who is casting this? So, who? Why? Why is this been projected at me? And when? How can I pinpoint when this started? When it got control of me? And once you can answer those 3, you've broken the spell. You've looked it in the eye. And you're on your path now to leaving it behind. And everything within that archonically controlled net, which today we would say is the elite, the New World Order, the whole, we know what we're talking about here.
Deep state.
In the background of the people, higher than the people that are the puppets.
Yes.
The presidents, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds.
The corporate CEO.
Well, like
all the names you know.
behind the hood.
If you know the name, it's not them.
Yeah.
That's exactly it, yeah.
And I'm not trying to say they're not, like, you know,
henchmen.
horrible, disgusting creatures. But it's an energy control behind it. Okay.
Farther back in that, I understand.
So as an incarnating soul, okay, you're going to incarnate either into that dark net or the organic net. The organic net, the net of truth, of love, which is symbolized by the sacred geometry. Now, okay, think, why is sacred geometry symbolizing this organic net where everything is equal and justified? Because sacred geometry is not sacred unless every face, every line, every angle is exactly equal to every other one. You can't draw sacred geometry. For example, you can't draw Metatron's cube if you have one line longer than the other.
Yeah.
You can't draw the seed of life or the flower of life geometry if one circle is bigger than the other. Everything has to be equal for your geometry to come out looking perfect and pristine. So it's justified. It's equal. And the centre in a geometric net, sacred geometric net, is everywhere and nowhere all at the same time. Wow. There is no absolute centre. Even though you start out with a dot in the middle of the page, as soon as you complete your drawing, everything revolves around that one dot in the beginning. But you'll see that there is no absolute centre. The centre is everywhere all at the same time. And when you work with the geometry, you'll see that. So just to kind of restate what I was saying, the sacred geometry is a visual of the thoughts, the patterns, the frequency and vibration of creator consciousness, of the organic net that upholds truth, love, beauty, freedom, sovereignty. The dark net is the net that is archonically controlled. And you'll know when you're there because it's about lies, manipulation, deceit. Literally, this archonic energy sees the light in you and it wants to smash it and smash it into the ground. It wants to smash it into the ground because it cannot create anything. Now, how does this happen? I told you, there's an unbroken line from the thoughts of the creator all the way down to the present day. So this information has remained pristine. Yeah. How was the darknet created? Okay. Now, this is, again, a visual, but I want you to, I think it's a good one. Mm-hmm. If you imagine you turn on your tap and a stream of water comes out, right? If you put your finger up to the tap, you can create that one stream and you can make it flow in two almost opposite directions.
Yeah.
Just by putting your finger up to the tap.
Yeah.
That's how the two nets were created. Do you understand what I'm saying? At some point in the descent into the 3D, from consciousness creator, the perfect, pristine vibration that creates this perfect geometry.
Yeah.
At some point in the descent, lowering its vibration through the dimensions, coming into the 3D, at some point there, it was hijacked.
Was blocked?
Or redirected.
Blocked and diverted, yes. Redirected.
Mm-hmm. Was that on purpose?
Oh, yeah.
Or is...
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Like, I think... Well...
The function of the Archon, and maybe I should have said this earlier, is... And it's its only function, is to keep souls trapped in the 3D.
Yeah.
And not being able to ascend.
Exactly.
Back out to what you truly are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, I've heard a lot of people who will say things, who say, oh, that's airy-fairy. None of that. Well, no, it's not. It's not. It's not.
No.
It's absolutely not. And people need to realise that in order to understand all of this, they need to actually raise their vibration. They need to raise their vibration. Because if you are under the control of fear and manipulation, then you're in that dark net. Now, in ancient Egypt, there's a thing called raising the Jed pillar. And I'll talk about that again, but that's literally about bringing everything back into alignment, because the Jed pillar is always tilted at an angle. And raising the Jed means pulling the Jed up from that tilted angle back up to an upright position. Jed is spelled D-J-E-D. It's the Jed pillar that you see on the walls in the temples in Egypt. And it's associated with Osiris, the spine or the backbone of Osiris. And that's about bringing this, really, it would be the symbol of ascension. It's about raising yourself out of that dark net into the net of creator consciousness. And that is ascension. And ultimately, we all incarnate, and maybe I also should have made this clear in the beginning, we all incarnate into this dark net as such. And we all volunteered to do it.
Yeah.
And we all knew we were doing it in the beginning. This is what I was all shown this is what I was shown in the motorbike accident. This is what I experienced. I wasn't shown, I experienced this. And, I understand now why I was shown this, but I was shown my actual incarnation into this and why I was doing it. Because I had to look this evil in the eye. I had to identify it. And all my years in Egypt, running the journeys, doing my own personal journey, working on myself, I now know clearly that is what it was about. It was about looking into the eye of this evil which permeates the entire reality that's created in that lower energy, So the importance of the geometry can't be stated, more profoundly, because it is what but brings you back into that organic net.
Yeah.
Where it's beauty, where it's love, where it's truth. And, you know, this is where, for example, Akhenaten comes in, you know. And again, that's another thing I want to talk about, not in this podcast, but in another one, is that, you know, Akhenaten, his information was totally distorted, as the Mystery School information was, you know. To demonize it so that people wouldn't take it seriously. But also, these symbols are powerful technology.
Yes.
Powerful technology, okay? How do you think they created, like, for example, the Great Pyramid? And not just the Great Pyramid, but the other three. Just at Giza. I mean, there's a lot more than 3 pyramids in Egypt.
Yes.
The Sphinx, the temples.
The Osirian.
The Osirian, for example.
Yeah.
Huge blocks of granite weighing like 350, 400 ton that are laser cut granite. How? With no technology, with no electricity, with no... How did they paint all the images in the tombs in the Valley of the Kings? There was no light. How did they see? You know?
Yeah.
So some Egyptologists said, oh, they lit candles inside. No, they didn't. There's no sign
carbon.
of any soot marks, you know, soot on the ceiling or... No. They had ways of illuminating, you know?
The pure...
Well, they had electricity,
truth,
of course they had. They
organic
had far in advance of electricity,
Exactly.
you know? So I say this geometry is powerful technology. And when you look at, for example, quantum physics, you know, they use symbols. They don't use the written language.
Yes.
Because the written language only applies to the 3D. So higher information and the information of creator consciousness is contained in the geometry and is being used. That's why all the demonic, satanic stuff is using these sacred symbols.
Yes.
They're sacred symbols being used against you, and you're being told that these are evil symbols.
Yeah.
Fear.
The pentagram,
They're
the
inverting it all.
pentagon,
Yeah.
to create fear.
Exactly.
To make you shy away and be afraid of this information.
And using...
And be afraid of the
redirecting
geometry.
the energy, the power of the symbol.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're siphoning it off to use it for themselves,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
So they're maintaining your lower energy so that it's fuel.
But
for
you see,
them.
their energy can't go any higher.
That's right. That's what I mean.
So
they have to keep it.
They
low.
have to keep it that way. So I'm going to leave that at this podcast
Okay.
for now.
Yep.
I just didn't want to make this one very long. But I think it's important for the time that we're in, because a lot of people who are just waking up
Yes.
are being hijacked in a way
Yeah.
into thinking that all this, you know, the geometry and all that is actually evil.
Yes.
Because it's been used. All the symbols of geometry has been used by corporations, by, you know, symbols on flags, presidents, like... well, look, we know the symbols
Across the
there's a
board,
language of
logos,
symbols.
corporate logos.
Yeah.
Behind what we think is the language of the world is a language of symbols.
Yes.
And the language of symbols broadcasts to your subconscious mind,
Yeah.
your
And
feminine,
The
Yeah.
language,
which never forgets.
That's what's the language of symbols.
It's
Is
the-
your
it's-
right brain. It's never
it's
turned
creator
off.
consciousness.
It is always recording.
So I don't
Pictures.
want anyone to take this literal, but if you consider your right brain as being creator consciousness,
Yeah.
and your left brain as being your logic that you use in your 3D,
Yeah.
In the hologram.
you know. So the language of symbols, sacred geometry, is the higher dimensional language of creator consciousness, which we never detached from. Listen, you can't walk away from yourself. You know. We collectively are creator consciousness, and that's another concept that has been demonized. Because you'll hear people saying, oh, it's satanic to say I am God. Okay? Listen, if you were saying I am God and you are all just nothing, then I agree. You know?
But if you're saying...
And they're distorting that information.
Yeah.
When I say they, I mean the elites who are doing all this social engineering. They're saying anybody who's you know, in the New Age, the way they would say the New Age community, that's saying or teaching I am God, they're satanic. That's very mundane and black and white, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If somebody is saying I am God and you're all just idiots that have to listen to me, then I agree, that is satanic.
Yeah.
That is satanic. That's someone seeking control over you.
It's like absolute power.
But when you say I am God, meaning
I'm divine.
I is the one that is all, and the all is one. So I meaning collectively all life.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean me personally. It means everybody and everything. Every blade of grass, every tree, every animal, every plant, every insect, every bird, collectively is creator consciousness.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to see. You will feel anything that's not that. Anything that's not that makes you feel like crap.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really as simple as it is.
Exactly.
It's not that confusing.
No.
You know?
No.
So, okay, I think I'll just leave it at that for now.
Yeah.
And we'll wind it up.
All right.
So, thanks everyone for listening. And I know it's been a while since I've made a podcast. But, you know, I'm back in action and we'll be making a few.
Woohoo.
So, yeah, talk to you all soon and lots of love.